A big question being asked here is, what is the solution to Pensacola's homelessness problem? Is it possible to lift oneself out of homelessness? Do the homeless want the help? And ultimately, what does it take to help hundreds of people transition out of homelessness? We're going to hear about all of this from my next guest. He grew up in poverty and spent nearly a decade struggling with severe addiction and homelessness in his hometown of Pensacola, Florida. You're going to hear his journey and what he's doing to help others have their own turnaround story. Unwaveringly committed, remarkably persistent, community Superman, Caleb Houston.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm glad to be here, I tell you. Thank you so much.
I'm so glad that you were able to make time. You are a busy man doing a lot of things.
Yes, ma'am.
And we've got a lot to dive into today.
Absolutely.
But I really would love to start with your story. So you were not someone removed from poverty growing up. That was not a foreign concept to you, correct?
No, it wasn't. Growing up, we struggled quite a bit, man. My dad worked full-time. My mother gave a lot of blood at serologicals at Baptist Hospital, actually, to feed us most nights. It was hard, you know. I remember filling the tub with water because we knew the water would be off that week, buying candles because we knew the lights may be off that month, eating mayonnaise sandwiches. I mean, it was horrible. I look back sometime and all I know it was God that brought us through, you know. Car repos, evictions. It was tough. Yes, ma'am.
And then after you became a young adult, you yourself experienced some addiction and homelessness. How did that happen? How does one go from having a home to not in your situation?
Okay, so like I say, growing up it was rough, but what ended up happening, football was my outlet. I loved football. I had dreams of going to the NFL. I just wanted to get my family out of poverty, you know, and help people. That was all I wanted to do, and be a positive role model. And so I found myself in trouble in school. I ended up getting kicked out of school. And they kicked me out for 2 years, which really put me in a bad position because I was just going into the 10th, so only had like 2 years left other than 12th grade. And typically in football, you know, you have to get some time in there to get your position and make a statement for yourself. So I dealt with a lot of doubt, a lot of insecurities. I didn't know what to do. You know, at that age, you know, when you're kicked out of school, I was like 15, I think, and I remember I didn't know where to turn because football is all I knew. That's all I wanted. I worked out daily, I played, I practiced, and I desired to be the best. And when that was taken away from me, I feel like that is what left a void in my life. And I turned to drugs. I started first selling, you know, I was trying to run the streets and be like the other drug dealers and stuff, and then I found myself using. And when I started using is when I started crashing. You know, I was burning bridges, family turning away from me because I would steal and rob and take. And so that's what led me down that path. You know, I feel like just a desire to want to play and just couldn't. You know, I would watch it on TV and I just would turn the TV off, you know, because I felt so incomplete, if you will, you know.
So was it the addiction that caused you financially to be in a situation that you were in?
Absolutely. I actually ended up having a kid out in Texas, and because that's where I was trying to pick up the game of football again. To no avail, that didn't work out. And me and my kid's mother, we got together, and we had a baby, and I kept messing up. I kept trying to get it together, kept trying to work a job and, you know, support my family, but the addiction was too strong at the time. You know, I prayed, and I just feel like that was a process that I had to go through, you know, and to this day, you know, it's almost bittersweet because while it was devastating going through that, I still feel like it produced something. I'm a hold up before I go into what it produced. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you experienced homelessness in Texas, Houston, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And then Pensacola. Can you compare those two experiences or the two populations just for our audience members to get a feel for the specificities of a homeless population city to city?
Yes. Okay. So, as we know, Texas is a much bigger state than Florida. I take it, and so there's a lot of more resources. I know for sure at that time, almost everywhere you turn, there was something there to help you, shelters that you didn't have to wait a week or two to get in. You could go right in and they'll house you and you showers available, food and all that good stuff. And I feel like that's what's kind of lacking in Pensacola, specifically speaking. There's a lack of resources. And some that are available are most times full. It's too many people there, and then some have such a process, to get into, and so that's what causes, I feel, a lot of people from really getting on the path they really need to get on, and I feel like that's why I'm in the position I'm in now, is because I've seen the ins and outs of shelters and organizations and places where you are to get assistance. And when I see in Texas, it was, oh my goodness, they are hands-on. And I love my city, don't get me wrong. I love Pensacola, but truth be told, we need more resources like this, readily available. And then there's some that people don't know about because they're not out there, advertising or really getting into the communities and engaging the people. And so that's what There Is Hope in Huts for Our Friends does. We go, well, I'm getting ahead of myself again.
It's
I'm
okay,
sorry.
Caleb. It's okay. No, I love that perspective.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's so much to unpack here. Homelessness is such a complicated problem. There's not one solution. Resources is definitely a part of the solution. So let's wind it back even a little bit, one more step, and talk to me about what have you observed as the cause of homelessness here in our town in Pensacola, Florida?
Well, that's a good question. I've observed a lot.
Do you see any patterns?
Yes, I see a lot of patterns.
Do share with the good people of the internet. What do you see?
Meredith's gonna give me in trouble. No, but
I'm not going to get you in trouble.
Yes, but truth be told, and I must stand on the truth. There is so much political. It's almost like a political arena.
Wait, as a cause of homelessness?
No, just the issue not being resolved.
Right.
There's a lot of reasons why homelessness happens, and I'll give you a few. Some people are expedited here from charges they caught years ago or violation of probation. They're trying to live their lives and they end up running into a tough time. And they end up getting back down here and they don't have anywhere to go, or they don't have family that's willing to help them get back home and they end up homeless. And so then you have individuals who lost loved ones, wives and husbands, and they kind of lost any desire to be responsible, if you will. And there's so many reasons why people end up in homelessness. And I know for myself, even with drug addiction, I was never raised in the drug life. My parents didn't sell drugs. I didn't know what it was about, but it happened. And sometimes things happen. And so while there are some people who look at homeless individuals and say, well, they're lazy, they want to be in that position. That's not true. That's not true at all. There are a lot of people that life happens, and it can really take you down a path you never expected. And so there's some people who are one paycheck away from being homeless. And so there are different levels of homelessness as well.
Okay, let's talk about that. Because I think you hit on something really important. And that's when you said, people think homeless people are lazy. And when I've been kind of unofficially polling different random people that I've done, like, hey, I'm going to do this interview with this guy and let's talk about this, because they have freedom to give me their honest feedback. And some of the feedback that I'm getting is a real triggered response around, the homeless problem, even those words. But I was talking to someone the other day about, it is related in part to the unemployment problem. And so however you have to frame it, there will always be people who don't want to put in the work. You know, we were just talking before we started recording about how you're putting in the work with fitness.
Yes.
And there was a time where you weren't doing that work for whatever reason, right? So there will always be that group of people in every population, says I. Right. That's my feeling. But I think what happens is, and why people get so triggered is the lower working class people that were one paycheck away and did whatever it took, whatever that means, to not be homeless and to work themselves up. They kind of have this emotional, visceral reaction to let's help the homeless, and they see handout means help, and homeless means lazy. So there's these like unofficial terms, unofficial definitions around these words. And so I would love to shed light on the nuances that exist within those. And now I've talked so much, I forgot my original question, so I'm fired.
You're okay. I got it. So when you deal with individuals who are in that mind frame, what I try to explain to them is that when you have individuals who are in a homeless state of being, there being a lack of resources can contribute to them staying in that position. Not only a lack of resources, but the lack of empathy, the lack of care, love, genuine desire to help. And one of my slogans I live by is, we're not here to give a handout, we're here to give a hand up. And so individuals that come into the facility, for example, they don't just come and get showers, food, and hygiene products and clothes and stuff, but they have to volunteer. They have to attend the classes. They have to give something to get something, because at the end of the day, nothing's free, and we realize that that's part of the process. So I utilize systems that I feel were effective for me, to help me now obtain almost 11 years clean from drug addiction. And so I feel like these are very effective methods, that are really needed in our community and in facilities. A lot of people that talk about homelessness and talk about drug addiction have never been there before. And sometimes they can give an opinion from just an opinion, but
can you say that louder for the people in the back? I don't think they heard you.
Absolutely. So, it is the facts. I kid you not, it is the facts.
That's why I love your perspective, because it comes from a place of personal experience, not a place of imagination. And we need imagination and experience to work together.
Absolutely.
So we were talking about the different types of homelessness, and that's where I got off and I derailed myself. And you so gracefully brought me back. Welcome to the new host of our show, folks, Caleb Houston. But so some people are on the brink of homeless, one paycheck away. If they have to take unpaid sick time, it's over. What are some other layers of homelessness?
Some other layers of homelessness is just people that are sleeping from couch to couch. There are some that are in school or like I've had information given to me of individuals who have done a count on those that are homeless in Escambia County. There are way more people than what they've accounted for here locally that are homeless. And there are some that just, are in a state where they're stuck. They don't know which way to turn. You've turned to this one and they talk about you behind your back, or you turn to this one and they put your business out there. So, there lies the understanding that we really need more effective resources, more people who care, more people who are not in this just to get money or to get funding, or, as we know, and I say it all the time, our services are free. Are completely free. We have right now building a full rehabilitation facility, and I've done the research, and the cheapest place to go is $14,000 per person. And who has $14,000, And I ask myself, are these people really concerned about helping? You see what I'm saying? And that's where I think the difference is in what we're trying to provide in the community. Like I said, it's just like a mother to a woman who has never had children. You can share with her very intimate and in detail information about the process of pregnancy, the process of having a baby and what it feels like to want to be emotionally tied and the love for that child. There's nothing nobody can share with you that you've had that experience. And that's the same thing with myself when it comes to drug addiction. And I think that's where a lot of the city and county, some others that are in there that miss that point. There are some that are reaching for the funding and they're reaching for the platform and the position and the power, if you will, but where is the passion? You know what I mean? Where is that genuine understanding of what this individual is going through? I'm not just trying to put you somewhere and put your name down and give you a number and say, hey, get better and hey, get on your feet. No. How are you doing, sir, ma'am? Let's talk. Tell me what's really going on. Let's spend some time, and people that meet me, they say, man, you're so approachable. I would think you would be one of these guys and I'm not that way. I hate people like that. Not that I hate people, but that way about people where they heady and high-minded, your chest out and you're, no, because tomorrow is not promised, and at the end of the day, we got to show love. Absolutely.
Yes, I agree. So you talked about some of resources being one of your key focuses on the solution for Pensacola, Florida. I also see the housing, and I say affordable housing, but I'm talking about you make $35,000 or less affordable. I'm not talking about the affordable housing threshold of like $12,000 a year in order to be eligible for services.
Yep.
If you're making $12,000 a year less, you're already in a bad spot.
Yes.
I'm talking about the people who are kind of on that brink. Maybe they're couch surfing, like you said. Maybe they're one paycheck away. And that's just my 2 cents. Do you have other insights into the puzzle pieces that might help to support more people transitioning out of homelessness in our town?
Absolutely. I think there needs to be more transparency with the entities that have been set up, such as the task force here locally. I don't know how all that came together, to be honest with you. I was very hesitant to even think about joining because of some things that I've gained knowledge of. And it really takes honesty.
What kind of transparency? I'm not really that familiar with how the agencies work other than I know they have a lot of rules and that's all I'm aware of.
Yes. Okay, so one of the things is that they say that you have to be, I think, about 5 years of service before you can qualify for certain funding.
This is who's they?
This is like the city or the government funding, federal funding, things of that nature. Some grants, it's set up that way. And from what they've told me and what I've seen in research is that homelessness has tripled since the 90s. It has, if you look around, there's homeless people everywhere here. They're everywhere you go, under the bridge, at the store, abandoned buildings. They're everywhere, on the side of the road. And my question is, that if these entities have been in place this long, Waterfront Mission, Salvation Army, Loaves and Fishes, Heavenly Blessings, REAP, Teen Challenge, Pathway for Change, all of these places have been in service for years. What's going on? And I'm not trying to step on anyone's toes, but I'm just being honest. What is going on? Why is this issue not handled?
Do you know what people say?
What do they say?
They say, well, it's because homeless people don't want the help. That if they want it to be better, then
that's
they.
Not true.
Yeah,
that's not
well,
true
talk
at
to
all.
me about why that's not true.
Okay, so what it is that some of these places, and I forgot Opening Doors as well. Some of these places, and I won't call any names specifically, but they're not at all in position or equipped to necessarily give the right and effective treatment that these individuals are in need of. That's why I've had individuals I've actually tried to pay for to go in some of these places. They say, Caleb, I'd rather sleep outside. And to me, that speaks volumes as it pertains to the issue that we're dealing with, trying to put all the pieces together and deal with this issue of homelessness. If you have individuals who had a place such as, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but beep, beep, at the end of the day, There Is Hope can house over 200 people. We have volunteers and staff who are equipped and ready, certified psychiatrists, nurse practitioners, counselors, ministers, teachers that are ready. They're signed up and they're ready. We have a facility that is providing drug and alcohol counseling, mental health evaluation and therapy, life management skills, culinary arts, financial literacy, just a host of classes to help these individuals. And we have a structure in place that I feel is going to be very effective and intriguing, because that's what I feel it takes. You can't just put people in this structured environment when they have spent 15, 20 years out here living to survive. They all they know is, getting by and scramming and scrounging, trying to make things happen. What is it about There Is Hope that is unique? What's unique is I have some incentives. I have some things that I feel will really connect with the people, not just housing every day and not just go out to work, but also, small time incentives such as, 3 weeks clean. Let's do a ceremony for this amount of people and present them with a plaque, with their name on it. It blessed me. I got my first award ever from the NAACP. And to God be the glory. And when I tell you it was my first, and it meant the world to me, I held it for like 2 hours just holding it, because people don't know how much that means to another person. If you have a facility full of less fortunate individuals and they're receiving plaques and trophies and things, that can make them feel like they can actually accomplish this. So I feel like that's what's needed. I know the end of being a drug addict, and I know the end of being off of drugs. And so I feel like together with those two powerful experiences, I'm able to really engage the people and help them in a positive way.
I mean, what you're talking about is dignity.
Absolutely.
Yes, as an important ingredient, an essential ingredient.
Yes.
Okay, so you have a volunteer back program, which I'm not aware any other facility does. That's unique.
Right, absolutely.
You have a myriad of in-kind donation services through local professionals.
Yes, ma'am.
And you have, and we'll call it a dignity first approach.
Yes.
So why do we still have 100 people living under the bridge?
Okay, so right now we're waiting on our sprinkler system to be put in. Unfortunately, the drawings of our interior building was blurred. It was completely, you couldn't even read any of the measurements. So they had to redraw all of that up and get all the measurements redone. And my architect will actually be there tomorrow to finalize that. And then they can apply for the permits, and the sprinkler system company can move forward with designing the sprinkler system. That building never had one. And to me, it was a parole and probation office.
What?
Yes, for years.
Okay, wait. When did that close?
Yes, that closed a few years back.
Okay,
I'm
few,
not sure.
like 4?
Might possibly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if it's not,
Yes.
okay, so if a sprinkler system is important.
Right.
But my point is, like, we got a problem. Apparently, I think homeless people say we need to take care of the homelessness problem in Pensacola.
Right.
What they're not saying is we just don't want to see it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and so suddenly we can see it, and it's an alarm
Yes.
going off, like you said. So it's I'm just curious, why are they like, you need a sprinkler system when it wasn't there before, and it's like a state of emergency? Like,
Right.
why don't they just? I mean, I want everyone to be safe, but I'm just saying,
Absolutely.
like, suddenly they're looking at the details of the rule book for
Yeah.
you.
I kid you not. It's you would be amazed at the codes and the permits and the red tape that they have put in place. To me, and I had a conversation recently with a gentleman, and this kind of puts it all in a nutshell. If we had certain areas in Pensacola with the huts, for example, my plan was to put 50 huts with the infrastructure in the front for showers, restrooms, and classrooms. If we were to put 3 of those in Pensacola with 50 huts on each, that would most definitely deal with the vast majority of the homeless. Okay, a lot of cities don't want to do that. Why? Because it takes away from bail bondsmen, it takes away from the head count in jail, it takes away from medications. It takes, because if more people get well, the less money will come into, our economy when it pertains to hospitals and drugstores and pharmacies and all that kind of stuff. It'll really put a dent in it. And so, in a nutshell, to me, I feel like if they really wanted to help people, they would help people. That's why I don't like going to all these meetings, and I hate it with a passion, because we're sitting in suits. Y'all getting paid. I'm not getting paid, okay,
right,
to be here. They're getting paid every day. And one of the questions has risen many times is, if some of these agencies weren't getting paid, would they still be helping the less fortunate? And I haven't worked a job in 2 years. And so it's been because my passion overrides my, desire to do anything else, and I just live on faith and prayer. And so with that being said, I look at it and I say, this whole setup, I feel like, truth be told, people really don't care. They don't care. They don't care. It's about money. Some people are in it for a name and for to be in the spotlight, or to, just different reasons. And it's very obvious, and so, I have to ask myself, what next? What should we do? I've talked with Michael Kimbrough, who's a friend of mine at the Washburn Center. We went out to have coffee the other day after a radio show, and he told me, he said, Caleb, for years I have been fighting to get the city to help and to do this and do that, and it's been a cycle, and I just think about it and I say, that's why I'm pushing so hard, because I really, really believe that with God, He is going to provide everything we need to help these individuals. I see them every day. I'm not talking about opinions and thoughts about it. I see these individuals daily, and multiple people, whether it's there physically or inboxing on Facebook or a call, and they want help. But they want real help, They don't want to be somewhere and, people are just there to take their food stamps or take their funding, for monthly check, or to control them, or to make them feel like they're, less than. And this is what has been the issue. I've seen some of these places. I've been in them years ago, and it's real. And that's why I feel like that's going to be the turning factor in how things roll with There Is Hope and Huts for Our Friends. And I teach my team often, treat people the same. I don't care if someone is urinating on themselves or if they have an Armani suit on. Treat them the same, because the Bible says, don't forget to entertain strangers, because you may be entertaining angels unawares. And I believe that. And these are God's people. The Bible says in Matthew 25, I'm sorry, I don't mean to preach, but I got to get a scripture here.
Well.
Listen, yes. So it lets us know, man, that, we as a whole, man, we got to love people.
Yeah.
We have to love.
So who's the city? Because, people are listening to this, hopefully a lot of people, right? And what I have observed is that when there is public demand, there is a shift of some kind, right? Like, otherwise, why would we have fluoride-free toothpaste?
Right.
I mean, that's the dumbest example, but if it can happen in the dumbest example, then all it takes is enough people pushing in the right direction to make movement. So, my friend Caleb.
Yes.
Oh, I just lost audio. Where do we need to push in order to make this happen?
I think we just need to come together, and personal feelings and opinions and thoughts about one another doesn't need to be a factor when it's pertaining to this type of work, this type of ministry.
But if the city is the main barrier, like what do we, the citizens of said city who pay the said paychecks of the city officials, what can we do? And give us the most practical, task-oriented directive that you can.
Well, I think it starts with, taking a stand, us coming together as a people in the community, meeting and talking about these issues, Not only just talking about them, but doing something about it, whether it's coming to There Is Hope, and volunteering and let's putting together a strategy, that we're able to implement in our community and let the city officials know that, hey, we're not standing for it. All of this money has come into our city. I think it's $6.5 million to deal with homelessness. The first $3.5 million was already given to the task force. The task force, within 2 months, the money was gone. If you ask me of any results or any pictures, any type of information I could share with you today, truthfully, I can't. I've looked, I've sought, I've heard several people say, well, they paid a rent over here, they've done this. But where are the big results? This is $3.5 million, okay? And we still have people that's coming to a facility that has no funding and has no resources other than the community that has been donating. They're still coming to our facility. Why is that? This money has been, and now the task force wants another $3 million to build a gated community that I showed them earlier this year. Yes, ma'am. I laid the whole format before them, opening doors, and I showed them exactly what we were going to do with the huts. Oh, there's $3 million more available. Hey, let's take Caleb's idea and let's go out here and start a gated community and use pallet houses that is originated in Portland, which let's take our funding locally and let's go spend it out there and make them richer. How wise is that, huh? So I feel like all around the board, and then this gated community is supposed to house 20 or 30 women. You want $3 million to house 20 or 30 women. There's a lot of political stuff going on, and it's sad because I've showed the city this idea that I started back in January. I showed them the whole infrastructure, gave them details, and my pastor told me, Caleb, be ready. Somebody will take your stuff.
Yeah.
Take your stuff and run with it, man.
And make it more expensive, apparently.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. Well, would you let us know when the next city council meeting is
Absolutely.
or anything so that because my audience, they are fantastic. They're
Yes, ma'am.
curious, they're action oriented, they care about people, and politically
Absolutely.
they describe themselves as over it, right?
Yes.
So we ain't attached.
Yes.
So I'm
Absolutely.
afraid that we are out of time, which is so tragic, but would you let people know how they can stay in touch with your progress on social media?
Absolutely. You can reach us at Caleb Houston on Facebook, CalebHouston, or our website at hutsforourfriends.com. You can also call us at 850-706-0324, or you can hit us up on Huts for Our Friends volunteer page on Facebook. We'd love to have you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Caleb.
Thank you for having me.
That's a wrap. Hey, you're still here. That's awesome. I hope to see you next week, too. I talk with the most interesting people that you've probably never heard of. Most of them are paradoxical and bring an opportunity for you to grow as a person. So if you like bright, meaningful entertainment, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications.